Hello and welcome to Create the Flow. I'm Monica Freeman, host and founder of Monica Freeman Studios and Unewell. I am here to guide you in aligning with your soul's purpose, trusting your inner voice, and building a life that you truly love. You were born with a purpose, and your intuition already knows the way. I've been thinking about fear a lot lately and how it has a tendency to try to control our lives and our decisions and what that looks like in our day to day. I don't know about you, but this year has been an exceptionally interesting year because things are continually changing in my life right now. And it's exciting, but it's still a little scary when you're changing and you're making big changes for that matter. And a lot is happening all at once. So I'm excited to welcome you guys back to the show. Thank you for tuning in to a new episode. If you feel like you have been really living in a state of fear, this episode will bring clarity to your life and hopefully help you tap into your intuition. Let's dive in. Raise your hand if you have ever made a decision based on fear, because most of us have lived in fear a lot. Most of us are so afraid to make tiny changes in our life or extravagant changes in our life because of the fear that keeps us stuck. And I know because I have personally experienced this. Fear is false evidence appearing real. The acronym is so beautiful because when you really think about fear, it really is just a limiting belief that we've been carrying for so long that we keep going back to. It's like this record on a loop in our mind that keeps telling us this story that we've heard so many times we believe it, but it's not even true. There is so many times I think back on things I could have acted on sooner, but I stayed in fear too long. And when you stay in fear too long, you miss opportunities. And I want you to realize that fear is a liar. The only real truth is what feels good to your soul. We have the ego, which always operates from fear. But then we also have our intuition. And intuition, if we don't hear it or we don't really tap into it and understand it, can also feel like fear because it has sometimes that anxious energy because it doesn't know how something's going to work out. But it's a little different than fear because fear is very much talking you not into something. So it is basically trying to say, no, 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 don't do that. Everything's going to go bad. It's wrong. That's not a good idea. Whereas intuition is saying, I got you. This feels good. Just trust me. It's going to work out on the other side. And I think a lot of times we live in fear so long that we miss opportunities that could have taken us to the next place. And it's not the fear that necessarily we need to work on. It's the shadow side of the fear. It's what is controlling us that is operating from fear. And this can look a lot of different ways. You can be afraid to start a business. You can be afraid to get into or out of a relationship. You can be afraid to move. You can be afraid to start over. You can be afraid of a lot of things. And in reality, even just saying them out loud, they are scary because we don't know how it's going to play out. When you go get your hair cut, you're so afraid that they're going to cut an inch too much, right? Or when you get something done, we have this natural fear like something bad's about to happen. And it stems from something that we have suppressed for so long, an underlying belief. And we have to uncondition those beliefs, but we can't actually pinpoint those beliefs to attack the fear until we identify the trigger. And the only way to get out of fear and step into your power, into your faith, into your purpose is to understand when something is fear versus when it's intuition. So when something is fearful, you immediately know it. A lot of times you get this I get anxiety. I get this anxious energy. You might get hot flashes. You might get a rash. You might start getting heart palpitations. You might feel constricted, like your body feels like it's repelling something. These are all signs of fear. Intuition feels a little different. It feels excited. It's almost like you had a little bit more caffeine than usual today and you're bouncing off the walls, but you want to kind of contain that, like you need more water because you drank too much caffeine. It's this excitement and this joy and it's this knowing, this good feeling. It's just like this extra amplified energy. And I love intuition because when intuition speaks, it is your body's way, your soul's way of communicating that something is working in your favor. It's almost like the universe is giving you this direct communication that is saying, trust me, I've got your back. But because we have these triggers, these underlying subconscious programs that are just patterns running on a loop over and over, we've got the ego over here trying to talk us out of what intuitionally we know is right. I've experienced so much of this in my life, but it wasn't until about 3 years ago when I really hit my rock bottom, my dark night of the soul, where I had to reparent myself and really get to the core of my deepest wounds. What was really keeping me playing small? Why was I so afraid? They were small wounds, but they were huge. In theory, it was like, I'm afraid of losing everything. That feels small on one hand, but it also feels huge on another hand. Because why, when everything is going smoothly, you've got tons of clients, you've got savings, you have like a whole system that's operating and functioning just fine, would you be afraid that tomorrow's the day you're going to lose everything? But it's because I grew up with a mother who worked multiple jobs to take care of my brothers and I. And I watched how hard she worked to be able to provide for us. So I learned at such a young age that I had to work hard. And work hard for me translated into nothing's ever good enough. I have to be perfect. I have to show up all the time. I have to do more than 100%. I have to be the best. And that ended up translating into burnout. You see how these triggers, from something so small as my childhood programming to my adult life as an entrepreneur to burnout, trickled all from fear. When none of that was true, I didn't have to work hard to make sure that I had stability in my life. My mom didn't have to work hard to have stability for us. That was just conditioning. She learned from her mother and I learned from her. We've since gotten out of that, but it's been through a lot of deconditioning, a lot of shadow work. The shadow side of me having it all looked like me having to burn myself out and work myself basically into a grave, because that literally was the path I would have been headed down if I hadn't had that dark night of the soul. And the reason why I share this is because a lot of times we're operating from fear that is operating from a belief that is just old programming that needs to be healed. But until we attack that belief, until we understand that trigger and how it is controlling the life that we're living today, we're going to still operate from those patterns over and over. It's just like when you want a healthy relationship, but you've never experienced a healthy relationship. You only know toxicity. You feel safe in toxicity. So you keep attracting more of that back to you because that is your baseline. That's all you know. That's what your body is comfortable with. But if you get into a healthy relationship, immediately it's going to feel a little jarring or triggering at some point when everything's going perfectly all the time because your body's not used to that. It's going to send red flags, alert, alert, alert. Something's wrong. I don't understand this. Why is it so good? I think something bad's about to happen because you don't know good. This happens in so many areas of our lives. That's why we really have to diminish that false evidence appearing real. We have to attack the limiting beliefs. We have to do the shadow work, and we really have to bring up the subconscious beliefs. We don't want to stew on those. I don't want you to marinate or ruminate over all these beliefs. What I want you to do is identify them so you can just speak a new narrative. Honestly, we're just reframing the narrative that you have been believing, and we're repeating it over and over. That is why I love affirmations, because the more you hear something, the more that you train whatever that new belief is, whatever that repeated thought is, to be real. The more we hear it, we start conditioning ourselves to believe that, and it becomes real. And we slowly let go of that old program. And that's how we step out of fear. Also, I love faith. The power of faith is like a trust fall for me. Like, I have such strong conviction in faith because I am so connected to my soul that when my soul speaks to me, which is where the intuition comes in, I trust that because I know that I'm being guided by a higher power, by my angels, by the energy, whatever you want to call this, God, divine, universe, power, the energetics that I trust, these bodily sensations, this high vibe frequency, I lean into that. And it always leads me to something better. Really being discerning about what's fear versus what's intuition is truly the first step to healing any fear that you have that's keeping you stuck. And then being able to really attack those fears, if it is fear and not intuition, by identifying the limiting beliefs. So doing that shadow work so that you can reprogram with affirmations, with journaling, with being able to rewrite that narrative. The more we work on our cognitive sensory, the better it is for your entire nervous system. And that's when you really do live in full soul alignment. That is really when everything starts to feel good. The second I feel any bodily sensation that feels off, I either sit quietly and get to the core of that energy, or I get on my yoga mat and I start stretching. And a lot of it is in my piriformis. I hold a lot of motions here. So I do these stretches for my piriformis. I do a lot of other deep stretches, but I really tackle that first. Or I will take a walk to try to clear the energy. I will use sage or Palo Santo. I start doing something to move energy around to get that clarity. And this may feel woo-woo. A lot of people don't embrace all of these modalities. These are just tools that I've used that have really helped me stay in alignment and to be discerning about what is actually fear versus intuition. And it's also what's helped me lean into the path unknown and trust that it's the right path for me. So today, if you are operating from fear or you feel this trigger or these patterns that keep repeating, you keep attracting the same things, you keep feeling this discomfort, this low vibe energy, or you keep questioning what's your path, what's next, how do I get through this? Really sit in that energy and ask yourself the hard questions like, where did this first originate from? Where did I feel this? How old was I when I experienced this emotion? Why did I feel this? Get to the root of that emotion and rewrite it. And if it's not that deep, if it is just a little anxious energy, a little excitement, lean into that with curiosity. What could happen? What could happen if I decided to go on this date, to start a new job, just put feelers out there, just start looking to move to a new city? What are the possibilities that could come from that? It's a beautiful place to be in the energetics of alignment and to release all that fear. Fear is just a liar. Let it go. Live in the embodiment of your highest self and watch how your life transforms. I love you so much. I hope this episode helped you understand what the difference between fear and intuition is and how to really step into and own your power and be present and attract things to you from a place of not only discernment, but full body alignment. I love you, and I'll see you on the next one. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. If you'd like more information, you can follow along on Instagram at Create the Flow Podcast or find me personally at Monica Freeman. And if you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to leave a review and share it with a friend.